Good morning. My name is Ryan Unger, and every day I have the good fortune to get up and go to work as the President and CEO of the Harrisburg Regional Chamber and CREDC. Thank you for being here for the first of our two legislators forums this year, featuring members of our Capital Region delegation to the Pennsylvania House of Representatives. We do these forums in partnerships with our friends at the Perry County and West Shore Chambers of Commerce. Tara and George, thank you for your partnership in doing these events. And of course, here in Harrisburg, we're entering what many of us call the fifth season of the year. It's budget season, and I know that's top of mind for both our delegation and the business community, and it will shape much of today's discussion. We know that public discourse has become more partisan and more heated. And while we have not been immune here in Pennsylvania, I'm proud of events like this, where we still make room for respectful conversation and practical problem solving. That matters, because the work of building a strong region depends upon people willing to sit at the same table, even when they disagree. I also want to take a moment to thank our regional delegation for stepping up and serving. These forums remind us that even in our purple region that we have right now, we can all come together, disagree thoughtfully, and stay focused on what really matters. And we keep our focus on shared outcomes instead of what separates us. Our region is better for it. Thank you all to our representatives for the service to our region and to our Commonwealth. Let's thank them. I also want to take a moment right now to have a special thank you and recognize Representative Cheryl Delosier. She has made an announcement that she will retire at the end of this year after more than 15 years in the Pennsylvania House. I know. Representative Delosier is a past Catalyst Award winner and has been a consistent partner to the business community and chamber. She has a lifetime of public service dating back to her time in the Ridge administration and to her current service to the 88th Legislative District. In my time at the chamber, she has led the charge to stop tolls on I-83 and been a bridge builder in advancing the first in the nation clean slate law, not once, but twice, helping more Pennsylvanians re-enter the workforce. When you get a chance to meet with Representative Delosier, she always seems to find the time, she's everywhere, and she is an unrelenting advocate for her constituents and solution-oriented. Representative Delosier, thank you for your years of service. I'd ask the audience to please rise and join me in showing appreciation. That'll be the last boo of the day, I promise everybody. So, I also like to take the moment to thank our sponsors, our exclusive federal sponsor, PA Health and Wellness, our state sponsors, Penn State Harrisburg Visit, Hershey Harrisburg, and WellSpan Health, and our county sponsors, the Commonwealth Foundation, the Dauphin County Department of Community and Economic Development, Highmark Blue Shield and Penn State Health, and Ritu Associates. We appreciate your support, as it is invaluable in our work to deliver thoughtful and engaging experiences for our members. We also want to thank our 2026 IT solutions partner, EverRound, who's helping our members better connect with their digital membership benefits. And of course, we want to thank the Hilton and its staff for hosting our event today. At this time, I'll ask you to turn your attention to the screen for a brief word from our exclusive federal sponsor, PA Health and Wellness. Now I'd like to introduce Jay Panye from PA Health. Jay Panye, PA. That's really not easy to say back to back. Jay Panye, PA Health and Wellness.
Thanks, Ryan. And I want to thank the Regional Chamber and CREDC for allowing us to be a partner with you and to help host these very important discussions. At PA Health and Wellness, we're dedicated to improving the health and wellness of the communities we serve, one person at a time. And we believe that the best quality health care is delivered locally and through partnerships with local organizations, local thought leaders, local policymakers, and others. That's why events like this are so important, because we get to talk to and hear from the people that are making decisions and confronting issues day to day at the local level. Together, we can work at the local level with our state partners and with other policymakers and thought leaders on creating solutions and creating opportunities for the communities we serve. Conversations and dialogues like today's are critical to fueling growth and progress in Pennsylvania, and we're proud to be the top sponsor for today's conversation. Now, please welcome to the stage co-chair of the Harrisburg Regional Chamber's Policy Advisory Committee, John Eisner of Penn State Health.
Thank you, Jay, and good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's Legislators Forum 1. At this time, I would like to take a moment to recognize the local elected officials who have registered for today, separate from our esteemed panel of representatives. Please hold your applause until all have been recognized. Lower Paxton Township Supervisor Pamela Thompson, Mayor of Paxtang Sheila Bourne, Dauphin County Controller Mary Bateman, Dauphin County Commissioners Justin Douglas, Mike Preece, and George Hartwick, Perry County Commissioners Frank Campbell, Bill Lyons, and Brenda Watson. Thank you for joining us. Before we break for breakfast, I would also like to highlight the Chamber and CREDC's government relations efforts. The Chamber has been a proud and active advocate for the business community for many decades. And over the course of 2025, we were able to deliver engaging experiences to our members each month through the Policy Pulse Speaker Series, say that 10 times fast, with guest speakers including members of the Shapiro administration, community advocates, and several state and elected federal offices. In addition to regular face time with our leaders in the General Assembly, we also had the opportunity to join several of our neighboring regional chambers across 9 counties with a trip to Washington, D.C. to advocate collectively for Central Pennsylvania to our representatives and senators in Congress, as well as executive agency leaders. Our advocacy efforts in 2025 have led to legislative progress in areas including child care accessibility, permitting reform, and energy development, to just name a few. And we are excited to continue that progress through 2026. We are immensely proud to be your voice in the state capitol as well as in Washington, D.C., and we look forward to continuing that great work. Now, please enjoy your breakfast, and we will be back shortly. Thank you.
Hospitality. To begin our panel discussion, each representative will have 1 minute to make opening remarks, and we'll do it to kick it off in ascending order of legislative district. Representative Thomas Kutz of the 87th District, the floor is yours. Representative Kutz.
Good morning. Thank you. It's such a pleasure to be with all of you. Fun morning here. Thomas Kutz, 87th District, that's Central Cumberland County, Mechanicsburg, Boiling Springs areas. And it's good to be here to talk about issues affecting our region as a whole. I think what you'll see today is 7 legislators who work in a bipartisan fashion to get things done for the people of Pennsylvania. We need more of that, not less. We need more cooperation, more common sense practices that help job creators come in who want to start their businesses so that we can bring employees in who want to grow and raise their families here in Pennsylvania. Everything I do is tailored towards making our region as a whole a better place to live, work, and raise a family. I look forward to a productive discussion today about how we can continue to bring Pennsylvania into the forefront of the most competitive states in our nation and one of the best to raise a family. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Representative. Representative Cheryl Delosier of the 88th Legislative District.
Good morning, everyone. Glad to be here. Thank you for coming out this morning to hear some of the policy issues that we'll all be dealing with as we get into this new session dealing with the budget and everything. I really appreciate the opportunity to have that conversation and be able to talk to all of you. You know as well as I do that we're all, our doors are open. The conversations that we have with our business community is our priority. And when legislation affects you, you understand how it is when the rubber hits the road. You understand how to pay people their salary. You understand the childcare issues that people have in order to get to work. You understand the fact that roads and bridges for people to actually travel to make it to work are all important, and they all are pieces of the puzzle. So thank you for all of your input on all of the issues that are important to our area, and I look forward to the conversations we have today.
Thank you. Representative Nate Davidson, 103rd Legislative District.
Thank you. Thanks for being here this morning. I'm going to do it a little bit differently. First, congratulations to my neighbor from Cumberland County for her retirement. It's well-deserved and earned. Second, any Messiah College grads in the room? Or university over here? Or E-Town? E-Town?
Yes, yes,
Yeah, yeah,
E-Town,
go Falcons.
yes. Yeah, I knew it. I knew he was doing it. I knew it was
If you've ever been to a soccer game between Messiah and E-Town, you know about the Marshmallow Bowl. So,
well done.
yeah, thanks for being here today. I'm excited for our conversation. Yeah, right. Anytime I get a tough question from Ryan, I have more in my pocket. Look, I'm excited for our conversation today. You know, we've been doing a lot of downtown work with the chamber here in the Harrisburg downtown. And just yesterday, I was in Camp Hill with their downtown association. So economic development's in the forefront of my policy agenda, as well as general affordability issues. This year, I'll be doing some energy affordability, free school lunches, childcare, that sort of thing. So thanks for your time.
I could have given him extra time. He was going to throw marshmallows. So, do you have them in your pocket the whole time we were eating dinner? Okay. Great. All right. Well, s'mores. Representative Dave Mattson, 104th Legislative District.
Well, good morning, and thank you so much for having me here and taking time out of your busy schedules for this good and necessary conversation. I represent the 104th Legislative District, so if you're not familiar with that area, it's South Harrisburg, Steelton, Highspire, Paxtang, Swedera Township, and one precinct in Lower Swedera, which is largely Penn State Harrisburg. So, and I have the airport in Middletown. So very diverse in terms of economics, in terms of the employers. Obviously, the big thing that's going on in my district has been the closure of the Cleveland Cliffs Mill. If you're not familiar with that facility, it is one of the oldest operating steel mills in the United States. So we are working very diligently. The chamber has been fantastic as a partner to figure out what we can do to bring the mill back online and hopefully bring back good-paying union jobs to the district. For me, I'm wrapping up. Thank you.
30 seconds. Well done. Okay, you only want to do 10 seconds there? You can do it. You can do it.
Yeah. So I was an organizer for the Wolf campaign and worked in the Wolf administration. And Governor Wolf, I think, had a good phrase when he said, "Jobs that pay, schools that teach, government that works." So that's usually the tenets that I try to serve and will do in this term. Thanks.
Thank you, Representative. Representative Justin Fleming, 105th Legislative District.
Good morning, everybody. Happy Black History Month. Thank you all for being here. I'm amazed that we can draw a crowd like this just to hear what we have to say, but we do certainly appreciate it, and we thank you for your attendance. And, you know, Dave and I are about to embark on, and Ryan made reference to it earlier, sort of the fifth season, budget season. So we're both on the Appropriations Committee, so we're going to be, you know, taking a look at the budget with all the department secretaries and really, you know, seeing how everything melds together with, you know, economic development, labor issues. Representative Delosier, who I was an advocate before I was a lobbyist for 12 years before I joined the General Assembly, has been a child care champion for as long as I can remember. So, you know, we're certainly going to miss that and many more things about Representative Delosier. But that's an issue that we really have in common, and just an understanding that you need high quality child care in order for people to go to work. You do not have employees unless people can get their childcare needs met. And so trying to figure out how we do that as a Commonwealth and how we come together and support the issues that you care about. Look forward to the discussion today. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Tom Mahaffey, 106th Legislative District.
Thank you, Ryan, and thank CREDC for putting this together, as always, and their staff and all the members. This is always a great event that we get the opportunity to come up here and speak. We love to hear from the business community, me being one of them, probably one of the only brick and mortar business owners in the General Assembly, and it's tough. I mean, we're dealing with a lot of problems right now, the inflationary rate that we went through during the pandemic, and the only way we're going to get out of this is through business. You know, our business community is the one that's got to get us out of this. Government's here to help, but we're not going to get you out of the issues that are in front of us and going to end up being there for a long period of time unless we get the business community together and make sure that we can accomplish these goals that we want to do. And that only happens if you come and meet with us. I want to give a shout out to Penn State Health. They got a rating of one of the top hospitals in the country. And I'm so lucky to represent them. And I'd also like to give a shout out to Local 520. Jimmy and Jim are back there. They are training some of the finest people that are going to get us through this problem, and we have to have that quality of worker out there. So we're very happy to see them here also. Thank you so much for this, and I can't wait for the questions.
Thank you. And finally, Representative Joe Kerwin, 125th Legislative District.
Good morning, everybody, and thank you, Ryan. I want to thank the Harrisburg Regional Chamber and CREDC for having all of us here today for a great bipartisan discussion on the things that matter most to the business community. It's not often that we get the opportunity to get together like this and have open discussion with all of you, so I'm really appreciative of that. I represent the 125th District. For those of you that don't know, it's northern Dauphin County and a portion of central Dauphin County. So it's a very unique district. It's half a rural district, half a suburban district. I like to say it's two districts in one, but I'm very honored to represent that area and also serve with my Capital Region colleagues in the State House. I'm looking forward to the discussion today. A lot of the issues that we're going to talk about are not easy issues with easy fixes, but I think that's why we're here and why you're here, because your line of communication with us helps us work together to come up with solutions in the State House. So looking forward to the discussion, and thank you again for having me.
Representatives. And now we're going to do the question and answer portion of today's program. The representatives will have up to 2 minutes for each question. That's exactly 2 minutes, Representative Madsen. We will cut off your mic. Just kidding. We'll let you go past a little bit past it. We also have an interactive element to today's panel. If you open the programs, you'll find a QR code, which will take you to an audience survey, and we're going to kick everything off with that right now, as you can show right here in the room what our business policy priorities are. And it's a pretty open-ended question. What are the top issues you would like to see the General Assembly address this year? You can see Visit Hershey-Harrisburg has made their vote in the middle there, but everyone hop in and give some votes here as we kick it off. And as we go through this, guys, we certainly will circulate these and put them out, so people can see them afterwards. They're good snapshots for the time here as well. How many times did you vote, Sharon? Goodness gracious, there. Here we go. All right. Now, I think it's not a big surprise there that we want an on-time budget, which I think we're confident. We heard that the legislative leadership and administration met early on to kick things off. And certainly, we understand the importance of rising costs of healthcare, and we have a question in here about that certainly as well. Right. Okay, let's move on to the question and answer portion. Representative Mahaffey and Delosier, we're going to talk about energy to kick things off. We know that energy prices are increasing. Beginning in July of 2024, PJM's interconnection capacity auction had prices more than 800% higher than the previous year, and has continued to rise over consecutive auctions as well. It's attributed to the slow progress of bringing energy generation online, also increase in demand due to industrial capacity and use, including data centers here throughout the Commonwealth, but also throughout the entire PJM grid. How do we harness Pennsylvania's full energy potential to ensure that economic benefits like data centers are not paid for by families already facing higher energy prices? So Representative Mahaffey.
Thank you, Ryan. Can I have 30 minutes?
There you go.
I think everybody knows that this has been something I've been talking about for years since I got in the General Assembly, trying to save TMI with House Bill 11 back in 2019. We saw this on the rise. I mean, this was a problem coming, whether or not with or without data centers. We need energy. The only way we're going to fix it is put energy on the grid. It's a supply and demand issue. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And if we want to fix this, we got to have a diverse portfolio of energy makers in Pennsylvania, and that is going to help out the grid in general. PJM represents about 13 states, so we can say, oh, we don't want data centers here in Pennsylvania. That's fine and dandy, but if they locate within the PJM grid, that's not going to lower our electric bills. We're the second largest producer of electric in the country, second to our friends to the west in Illinois, and that's because of our nuclear power fleet. I mean, that is something that is extremely important. We have new technology on the way, the SMRs, the small modular reactors. We have to accept that, and we have to put more online. We have the largest vein of Marcellus shale in the world. We need to harvest that, use it, and produce more energy. It's right here. Why are we not doing it? Some of the cleanest energy out there. So this isn't just about nuke. This isn't just about gas. There's other things we can do and help out with that. We're in a crossroads right now. And back in 2014, during the polar vortex, we had some brownouts and blackouts. And the only reason that we didn't have it in PA was because of our fleet of nuclear power plants. And that is something that's extremely important. We need to embrace it. We need to upgrade it. And we need to make sure that we can put more power on the grid. But this doesn't happen in a matter of minutes. This is a long, drawn-out process to get things going. That's why 5 years ago, we should have been all over this. And now here we are again. So we got to have energy savings somewhere, somehow, if we can do it. And then, watch what's going on as far as our on-time peak demand, and see how we can pull some of that off and try to save our consumers and try to get these rates down. But it's not going to happen without production. So I think my 2 minutes are up.
You're good.
Yeah, I was asking for 30. But I think, again, to wrap it up, if we, the business community, work together and start accepting and looking at areas where we can do this, this can happen, but it's not going to happen overnight. And it's going to be it's going to hurt before it feels better. So we just need to put our nose to the grindstone and get this done. Thank you.
Representative Delucia.
Thanks. I'll hit a little bit of the other part of the question. Yes, we need reliable energy, and our energy sources need to be considered. There's legislation out there across the gamut of different ideas in energy resources. We need safe, reliable service. We work hand in hand, obviously, with the PUC in our state to regulate what it is that's happening. But the other side of it that has come through with many of our local areas is the warehousing issue, is the data center issue. And we need that safe, reliable service, but we also need to recognize that there needs to be that balance. So yes, our data centers, people, you can't just say, no, we don't want any data centers. Yes, data centers are going to have to be built. Yes, they are very large entities. Yes, they require a lot of energy. And yes, they require a lot of water source and everything else that goes along with them. There has to be that balance, and that also has to require us to recognize that the compromises that we're going to have to and the partnerships that we're going to have with local government, their zoning, their planning, all of those folks that are elected to those boards or appointed to those boards and then elected to serve on borough councils and local township commissioners, each and every one of them have their hands full as well. So we need to be that partner with them, recognizing that we need that compromise to figure out exactly how do we make sure we have safe, reliable service while we are balancing our planning in our local zoning and our local areas with municipalities. Our local municipal officials don't know necessarily how to work with PJM. In the last budget, we also had to dealt with the issue, and we'll see where that ends up coming down the pike, is that how do we report what it is our demand will need? The reporting to PJM. The PUC in our budget required them to be checking on exactly what is the data load that we are going to need in order to go out and buy on the market, to be able to be prepared. So we have to make sure that that is producing and that is doing what it needs to do, that we have a very good picture as to what our needs are, but then we also need to be working with our local governments to make sure that we get the job done in the right way for our communities and in the best way for our constituents, because we don't want them paying more for the ability to have the service that they need. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. I know we've been incredibly supportive of the Crane Clean Energy Center and the TMI restart coming back. It is coming back. I've heard, when I get out in the community, people say, well, is that really going to happen? Because it's so kind of hard to comprehend, $1 billion+ investment in our region. You'll see us next week at the NRC hearing, again, testifying of its importance, and we're in lockstep with everything that's been said here so far. Representatives Kerwin and Kutz, housing also continues to be an issue here in our region. A December 2025 report from the Greater Harrisburg Association of Realtors showed that in our region, the market slightly improved since December 2024, but the median sales price continues to remain high and is climbing at over $275,000. What do you think are some ways that the General Assembly can support housing affordability and increase availability as we continue working to strengthen our workforce? Representative Kerwin.
That's a tough question, but it's good to hear that we had a slight improvement. A slight improvement is better than a slight decrease. I really think for homes to be affordable, they first have to be available. And look, there are a lot of hardworking people in our region, in our county, in Dauphin County, that are in their 20s and 30s, young people who are trying to achieve the quintessential American dream of homeownership. And they're having a lot of trouble doing that. And I know this because I went through this a few years ago when it came time to find my first home to live in. And the home buyer's market and seller's market out there is really tough. Young folks are experiencing way more of a challenge now than their parents and grandparents did when they were buying homes. So that's a problem that needs to be solved. It's a free market problem. I don't think it's an easy problem to solve, but none of the problems that we're talking about up here are easy to solve. The home market's expensive. I'm not under the illusion that the government, especially the state government, is going to be able to wave a wand and make homes cheaper and more available overnight. That's why it's important that we listen to you as business leaders, industry leaders, of how to solve this problem. An interest rate reduction from the Fed would be awesome. The interest rates have doubled since 2020. Like I said, the home market is really expensive. It's harder to get into. However, that doesn't mean that we can't do things in the General Assembly. And I'm sure Rep. Kutz is going to talk about his initiative that he's spearheaded with the first-time home buyer savings account, something that I supported last year. It made it out of the House almost unanimously. I think there was several no votes on it. That's something that can help. That's a modest fix. Also, something that I was reading about and something that I've seen throughout Pennsylvania is blight, and that is something that we can work on, and abandoned homes, where we can fix these properties up through legislation like HB 775, which seeks to revitalize certain areas in the Commonwealth and create more housing and more homes and more affordable homes. Look, and I don't want to go over my time too much, but this is a very complex issue. But those are a couple things that we can do. But I think that the best thing that we can do is listen to all of you as industry experts, those of you that build homes and sell homes, whether you're a builder or a realtor, and have you bring your ideas to us when it comes time to craft legislation, when it comes time to work through the budget, so we know what can work and what can make homes more available and affordable, particularly for the young people, because we don't want to lose young people in Pennsylvania. We've had enough population loss. But thank you.
Great. Representative Kutz.
Thanks, Ryan. Lots to say in 2 minutes. Let's start here. The average age of first-time home buyer now 38 instead of 28. Why does that matter for all of you? That's 10 years less that people have to start building equity, which means 10 years less they have to contribute to their retirements, which means 10 less years that they have to have savings, which means when we get to retirement, you think Social Security is an issue now, wait until the first generation people who weren't able to buy homes get to retirement age. How do we fix that? Number one, what's the biggest barrier to people getting into homes? Closing costs. How do you reduce closing costs? Just look on your sheet and look at all the junk fees that get added to it. Number one, realty transfer tax. I know there's some county officials in the room, so don't worry, we'll just start with the state portion. But we have the 1% state portion repeal bill that I have, which is an easy bill. It doesn't cost a lot of money. I'd like to see it get done. It got through committee unanimously. For first-time home buyers, you don't pay the realty transfer tax. For me, median home price in the 87th legislative district is over $500,000. median home buyer is going to save $5,000 at closing. What's that mean for you as sellers? You're not a first-time home buyer. More buyers will come to the market. You'll be able to sell to more people. It allows you more competitive bidding as well. Might encourage you, those of you who are in the more than half the homes who don't have mortgages right now, or the next 30% of homes who have mortgages under 3%, to maybe sell and move on. But as long as mortgage rates stay where they're at, young people will never be able to buy homes, and that's a huge problem that we have to address. Additionally, private mortgage insurance, which is the biggest scam I've ever heard. The bank's already taken the risk on me that I'm going to default on the mortgage, but now I got to pay your insurance costs, even though the mortgage rate I'm paying and the interest I'm paying up front is the consideration for your risk that you're taking on me. I have the bill that would allow you to deduct private mortgage insurance from your state income tax. That should be addressed federally as well. Running low on time here, Rep. Davidson and I have a first-time homebuyer rebate bill that's passed committee unanimously as well. We're working on this in a bipartisan manner. First-time savings account bill, also bipartisan bill. 10 people voted against. I know exactly who they are. Don't worry. We're changing hearts and minds to get people into homes because home ownership is still the best way to achieve the American dream. We have a lot to do. We have a lot more to say on it. I'm out of time. But if you want to talk housing, give me a call anytime, please.
That was awesome. And this is going to air on PCN, so I just think you scared those 10 as well. All right, we have a second Mentimeter question. While that's up on there, weigh in on your hiring here, and we're going to go to Representatives Fleming and Madsen. We know that workforce is top of mind for everyone, that we know we're going to need 5 million more workers with post-secondary training and education, and we're feeling that impact workforce shortage now. Healthcare, childcare, and construction and engineering. We know that there's gaps between what our school systems are doing and what the employers need. And many people, in a recent study, around 70% of high school graduates said they wish they knew more about career exploration during their time in high school. Where do you see opportunities to align Pennsylvania's public education with the skills and qualification employers are looking for? How can we strengthen career awareness, work-based learning experiences, in-school apprenticeships, and job shadowing? We'll start first with you, Representative Fleming.
Thank you, Ryan. Well, so this is like everything we're discussing. It's nuanced. It's multifaceted. I think it starts well before the high school level. It starts well before kids even think about a career. It starts with early childhood education. We see so many more children, unfortunately, entering kindergarten unprepared or underprepared. One of the things that I was able to get done in this last budget was a $10 million grant for literacy to improve structured literacy around the Commonwealth, because we are seeing so many more children who, once they're assessed, they don't read as well as they need to. And, if you don't, reading is the building block of every other academic pursuit. So if you don't read well, you can't do a word problem in math. You can't learn your history. So it starts there. It starts at the earliest level. So we need to expand that and be more robust about that. Second, I did a job. I've spent more time in my career lobbying than any other thing I did. I didn't even realize lobbying was a thing when I was a kid. So I spent 12 years doing something that I didn't even know existed as a job when I was growing up. And so that might be my own naivete, but the point remains, we need to do a better job of exposing our kids to what's out there. Now, being an influencer is something that's popular, or being a content creator is something that's popular. We need to, lean into those things. Old people like me can be like, well, that's a waste of time, but the fact of the matter is there are a bunch of people making a lot of money doing those sorts of things. So the other thing is industry partnerships. Our Department of Labor and Industry does a nice job trying to build those industry partnerships. In South Central Pennsylvania, we have agribusiness, construction, and manufacturing industry partnerships. We need to make that more robust. And final story, it's up to local school districts to sort of meet the needs of their communities. I got to know the superintendent at Chambersburg when he was superintendent at Susquehanna Township, and they have a co-op with high school kids who work at the local airport. It's just over the border in Maryland, but they need a workforce. So they are training up that workforce using the kids in Chambersburg High School. And so, all of this is it's tailored to what your specific needs are in your community, but we've done a nice job of identifying industry partnerships, high priority occupations, and we certainly need to do more of that.
It's great. And we also have an IT South Central partnership that we're active with too, so we love that one.
And unions.
Yep, there you go.
Yeah.
I know
You know,
that's where
we-
Representative Madsen's
Yeah,
gonna take
I
it.
mean, we need to do a better job of getting the unions. I mean, high school kids can make, $25, $35, $45 an hour without taking on a bunch of debt in college, but I will send it over to my friend, Representative Madsen.
Thanks for teeing that up, Justin. Yeah. I'm going to take some time. So, so for this issue, I don't think anybody on this stage hasn't had an employer come in from various industries saying, we cannot fill the jobs because we don't have the skilled workforce to do it. We know this is becoming a big problem, particularly in our healthcare sector and nursing. When I worked for the United Way as a labor rep, what I would say is there was a couple different prongs. He touched on early education, that's good, but I also think we have to really talk about adult retraining. We have a lot of people out there that we could tap into for these positions. We have the people that are college dropouts. We have people that dropped out of high school. We have our returning citizens population. We have our immigrant population, all of which, when you engage with these communities, they want to get into the workforce. They want good paying jobs and they want career pathways, but we have to provide the resources to make a bridge to do that. And one thing I'll note is that when me and Rep. Fleming did a tour of DC Votech, we went specifically, we were doing a simulator with nurses, and we said, we know that there's this gap, what is it gonna take? And they said, we actually have a wait list for nursing. And I said, what? So we have kids that wanna do this and we don't have enough space to do it. What are we doing? And so recently, having some conversations with Votech, they're looking at expanding their campuses and potentially doing branch campuses. They're doing a feasibility study, which was really good to hear. That has my full support, so that way we can fill any kid that wants to do nursing or whatever field they want to do. They should be able to get a spot and do that and then connect with employers. And then I want to make investments again in adult retraining. I think that is a huge aspect that if we do that right, we can help fill these jobs and get a lot of people that are struggling in poverty to the middle class and even thrive. Thanks.
Thank
And I'm
you.
on time.
Good job. Thank you.
Rub it in, bud.
We're now going to focus on, business attraction and expansion here in the region and throughout the Commonwealth. We've improved in Pennsylvania in Site Selection Magazine rankings, now the 11th best climate in the country, top business climate in the Northeast. That's due to changes that the legislature has passed regarding reductions in corporate net income taxes, permitting efficiencies, and items like that. What more would you like to see done in the legislature to entice business of all sizes to establish and expand here? And how can a business community be an active partner in the efforts? We'll start with Representative Davidson. Representative Davidson.
That's a big question, Ryan.
I know.
Another marshmallow.
Here we go. I have one up here.
Look, our governor likes to remind us that we're the only state in the Northeast that's growing in our economy. And there's a lot of reasons for that. I think we have great assets here in the Commonwealth. We have a skilled workforce, spearheaded by union labor. We have physical assets, resources, raw materials, and we have historic industry here in the Commonwealth. So we have a lot of things going on. At the same time, we're not growing as fast as some of our neighboring states. We're set to lose a congressional seat again in the next redraw. Housing is a big part of that. But attracting young people and businesses to the Commonwealth is a huge thing. I mean, we just saw the big investment from Eli Lilly up in the Lehigh Valley, the largest investment in the Commonwealth in history for a business moving in. So I think we just need to see more of that. But it's all about collaboration, and I think I just want to point to our downtown work in particular. It's easy for people to throw stones at glass houses, or roll around the Cabbage Patch with the piggies. But it's hard to get people around a table and work together. That is hard work, and it took many months of work with the legislators you see here. And our partners at the chamber to assemble that table in the governor's reception room just last month. to talk about downtown Harrisburg. You know, and it's a smaller example of a larger question about how do we attract businesses to the Commonwealth? What can we do in terms of incentives through legislation or tax credits or what have you? But the real work is sitting around a table, identifying the problems, and then working each problem. So in the downtown, just in particular, you know, we have parking problems, we have housing problems, we have physical infrastructure problems. Oh, the marshmallow.
Maffey had that holstered for you.
But it really just takes sitting, collaborating, and working together and rowing in the same direction. So that's my
Thank
answer.
you, Representative. Representative Kutz.
Thanks, Ryan. Three things on this that come to mind. Number one is that Pennsylvania is rated the #1 judicial hellhole in the nation. So until we start talking about reforms that actually attract businesses to come here and don't open them up to tens of millions of dollars of litigation, businesses aren't going to want to come establish a business in the #1 judicial hellhole in the nation. Number two, that is obviously continue our tax reform efforts. CNI was a great start. Acceleration would be great. But in addition to that, it's great to talk about corporate net income tax. What about most of the businesses who don't pay CNI? You want people to start small businesses in Pennsylvania, help them out with a tax environment that does so. Net operating losses for small businesses is a big one. I have that bill. I've had it multiple sessions now. I'm told it's too expensive. I had Republican staff tell me, wow, it's going to cut revenue. And I said, well, yeah, that's the point. We can have government spend less. And it helps small businesses grow. And here's the other thing. You generate revenue by allowing businesses to grow. When you actually take the boot off the neck of the business owners, you allow them to actually grow their businesses, create family-sustaining jobs, and generate revenues for the Commonwealth. I think that's the biggest thing that's lost when we talk about business tax reform. That's number two. Number three is continuing with regulatory reform. The permitting improvements we've made have been great. I think we're moving up in rankings because of CNI and permitting reforms. There's still work to be done on the regulatory side of things. I think that's another thing that, you know, it doesn't win a lot of points. You know, when people aren't business owners think about that, they're not thinking, oh, well, how is red tape really hurting me? Well, red tape's hurting you because the cost to build my home was $20,000 more because of red tape, and my builder told me, hey, I'm passing that directly off to you. So until you get consumers to understand what the red tape cost actually is for them, you're not going to have movement on that. But hopefully in the legislature we can address those three things, very big things, so we can make Pennsylvania the most competitive state in the nation. It's a great place to live, work, and raise a family. I believe it. Hope you do too. Let's get to work.
Here we go. I apologize to the Hilton cleaning crew. You're going to have marshmallows everywhere up here. Representatives Fleming and Delosier, we're going to go probably I'm just going to be honest, like a little bit over time, but these folks have given a warning to us. I want to make sure they all have an opportunity to speak. The child care crisis continues to be a problem in Pennsylvania. We know that 400 providers have closed since 2019, and there's over 3,000 unfilled positions. We appreciate seeing increased support for child care. In the last budget, we joined a coalition of chambers to support that. Can you speak to the proposals in the General Assembly to continue addressing the crisis and how we as the business community can be an active partner in the efforts? Representative Fleming.
Thank you, Ryan. I alluded to it earlier. I mean, childcare is essential in order for people to go to work. You know, the way the environment is now, you cannot have. It's next to impossible to just raise a family on one salary. You need two people working, and I think the childcare crisis comes back to. You know, market forces, but also we just need to pay childcare workers more money. And we can do that by, writ large, raising the minimum wage. As of a couple of years ago, the average salary for the childcare worker was $12.43 an hour. The parents in this room know how hard it is to deal with your own kids. Think about dealing with, 20 or 25 others who are not your own children. So they are doing amazing work each and every day. I was so blessed. Both of my kids went to the Early Learning Center at the Harrisburg JCC. and got a wonderful experience, prepared them extraordinarily well for school. But we have to look out for that workforce. And I will say, on a bipartisan basis, when we passed the budget, we did invest in recruitment retention grants for child care workers, $450. I think we can do better. The governor, in his proposal, proposed another $30 million to up that recruitment retention grant to $630 next year. So I'm hoping that we can do that, pass that as part of the budget, and give child care workers incentives to stay on and continue to do the essential work of watching our children while we go to work. I think I've said for years, and I stole this from Alex Reber, a really good friend, and he's right. If we could figure out how to do affordable child care and affordable health insurance in this country, we could unlock entrepreneurship in a way that we have never, ever before seen. If we don't tie health insurance to employment, for example, if we don't, if we give people an option to be able to have health insurance, we could have business owners all across this country. Americans have unlimited ingenuity. And so I know I went a little far afield and I'm probably out of time. Yeah, here's the marshmallow. But that's, oh, thank you. Getting it from both ends. So I'll turn it over to Representative Delosier.
I'll try not to get any marshmallows. Yes, 1,000%. We need to take a look at the staffing within childcare. Childcare has been, we've talked about education. Education starts with preparing them for education. Many of our childcare centers are that first breeding ground for that educational start for a child. So I've always been very passionate about the fact that we need to work on our children early because it pays dividends later. But when we are taking a look at the childcare and obviously what we talked about in the budget, I think that was a great start. The applications for that, were due just at the end of January. So we're trying to see where that program is, talking about the budget to see whether there needs to be additional dollars for that. But taking a look at the staffing is very, very vital in order to make sure that we have those resources for parents when they're going back to work. Because we are asking them to come back into the office and we want them to come back into the office. We have to obviously look and see what that implication is in the long haul. But this other side of it is also we need to be taking a look at the regulations that go around childcare facilities. Because yes, we need the staff. Absolutely, that is part of the puzzle. But we also need to be taking a look at some of these regulations. We want our children safe. There is absolutely no argument about that. And we want to make sure that nothing happens to any of our young people when they are in the care of others. So there is a reason for regulations and there is a absolute need to make sure that our children are safe. But there are some regulations that are on our books for our child care facilities that are unnecessary. We do not need to make sure that every teacher takes an entire class to the bathroom because one student has to go because that student cannot be unaccompanied. Again, that deals with staffing issues, but some of these regulations also need to recognize the new world that we're living in. And some of these regulations need to be updated. I've said throughout my career that yes, there are bills that are passed, but we need to go back and take a look at them and make sure that they are still efficient and effective and doing what it is that they actually set out to do. Because many times they become cumbersome for our small business owners that have these childcare centers. And we need to be looking at them because we need them as a resource and they need us to stand up for them and make sure that they're not overburdened by regulations so that they can do what they want to do, which is take care of our children. And that goes hand in glove with obviously our parents showing up to work. So it all is a lot of small pieces to a puzzle to get the staffing, to get the regulations, to work to make that end result be that our kids are ready for pre-K and our kids are ready for kindergarten and first grade and second grade, and that they can read on the level that they are supposed to read. And they can do math on the level that they are supposed to do math. There are so many abilities for us to start them so young. We need to continue that push, and I didn't even get a marshmallow and ran out of time. Thank you very much.
Cheryl,
last one.
hold on. Because you're retiring, we're giving you grace.
Should I be offended? I mean, I'm the only one with kids in childcare up here that I didn't get this question.
Would you like to answer?
Yeah,
Put it on your list.
Yeah, I'll just chime in here just briefly. And this is going to be tricky territory. We have to do our jobs. If you remember, the budget was how many months late last year? In my district, we had a child care center close because the budget was late. And over 500 children were not in childcare. My kids were, thankfully. They go to the ELC as well. They do a great job. Ella can say her ABC. She's not even 3 yet. It's great. But that's not just 500 kids. That's all the teachers. They're not getting paid. And what about their parents? How are they getting to work? Are they able to get to work? They've got kids. So overall, there's a shortage. The recruitment grants are nice. They're good. We need more of that. Yes, we need to take a look at some of the regulations around childcare. But overall, it's just a shortage. So we need to find a way to incentivize more providers. So thank you.
Thank you. Representative Kerwin and Mahaffey, last year, along with Representatives Mattson and Davidson, you co-sponsored, Representative Fleming's HB 1264, which would allow a business or nonprofit to lease space at Fort Indian Town Gap. Talk a little bit about that bill, how the business community can engage, and is it a model to also allow for other state-owned properties a chance for revenue generation and community engagement? Representative Kerwin.
So I'll speak fast so the marshmallows don't turn to tomatoes since we're running late. But this is a topic, anything that deals with the military or the National Guard here in Pennsylvania, that's near and dear to my heart as a service member myself. So I want to thank the Dauphin County delegation for coming together on this bill. Fort Indian Town Gap actually has a lot of land in Dauphin County, which crosses through many of our districts. So this bill does two things. It benefits the business community and forms a partnership with the state, with private business, and it also benefits our veterans and their families. And just briefly to summarize the bill, it would allow the Adjutant General of Pennsylvania, who's in charge of the National Guard and the Department of Military and Veterans Affairs, to lease Fort Indian Town Gap's properties to businesses, nonprofits, basically gives the general a lot of leeway in what he can rent out to businesses. Now, I think this is a great initiative because the lease fees that are gathered from those businesses that work, that are based at Fort Indian Town Gap would be used to fund the service members and their families fund, which is a great initiative created by this bill. So it does two things, helps business and also helps our veterans, like I said earlier. I think this will be a great model if we're able to get it done in the House and get it through the Senate and get it to the governor to be signed, to see if we can replicate the success that we would hopefully see from this bill with other state-owned properties. Fort Indian Town Gap gives an optimal area for this type of program because of the amount of land that's there, the amount of people that are going through there every year, over 100,000 people, soldiers and their families and service members. So it would be a really great trial run to see if we can do this at other state properties. So I'm hopeful that we can get this bill done, get it signed into law, and if it works, it's definitely going to be something to look at for doing with other state-owned properties. But I want to thank my colleagues again for working on it. Thank you.
Representative Mahaffey?
Ditto.
There we go.
I don't think you can say it much better than that. First of all, Joe, thank you for your service to this country. A couple years ago, you were away, and you were serving for us, for our freedoms, and doing the things you did, and we appreciate that.
Thank you.
So the captain couldn't have said it any better. The one thing I will say is General Pippy is one of the best generals we've had, and I've been through 3 adjutant generals since I've been here. All of them great quality people, service members. But John has a little bit of a different aspect to this. He served in the General Assembly. He served as a state legislator as far as in the House and also in the Senate. And John knows and he understands politics better probably than any of us here. And the thing about him is he is acting and trying to do the right thing for our veterans. And the things that we've been able to see and the things that he has done so far in his short time there has been pretty much incredible. So I want to thank the general for what he's done and including us. And I think this model is something we definitely can look at and should be looking at with government agencies and others that we can get things done. And if it's going to make us money and it's going to help out the business community, why not do it? Thank you.
Great. Representative Davidson addressed, child care. I want to make sure Representative Mattson gets a second opportunity at the mic. Representative Mattson, you mentioned earlier Cleveland Cliffs and the importance of it. certainly to your community and your district, but also it's critically important, its neighbor to the national security infrastructure as well. Just provide a quick update to the group about where we're at with that and what's been going on at the site.
Yeah, no, happily, and thank you for giving me that opportunity. So, if folks aren't familiar, there's actually, it all used to be Bethlehem Steel, but there's one portion that's in High Spire that is owned and operated by a company called Durabond. Durabond makes fracking pipes, and so they're actually doing really well. There's a huge demand for fracking pipes for the foreseeable future, so they're even looking at growing and expanding. So the worrying part is that because it was all under Bethlehem Steel at one point, they're very interlocked or connected in terms of how they get power and supply. So when Cliffs closed, there was a real fear that Durabond may have to close as well. But I just want to give Chamber, the governor's office, our federal counterparts credit. We all came together at all aspects of private sector and government, came together and made sure that we could find a resolution. And Durabond should be good for the foreseeable future. And that saved a lot of good paying union jobs in the 104th legislative district, but the region. Cliffs right now is closed. It was idled there for a little bit. And Cleveland Cliffs has pulled out of operation. They're trying to sell the facility. So when we're saying keeping the steel in Steelton, it's not just for nostalgia or we're just saying that. It's actually a very practical reason for doing it. It's an extremely old mill, and it's been made to make steel. So if we can find a buyer to make steel, that is the most ideal thing. I know some people, when they say, oh, well, let's turn it into data centers or let's demo it and turn it into beautiful riverfront property. There are some huge problems with that. Specifically, if you look at what happened in Western PA in the Lehigh Valley, I'm going to get marshmallow just as an FYI.
You can go, buddy.
It takes decades to decommission mills and all the environmental stuff that comes with it. So I think if we're just being very realistic about short-term, what needs to happen is we need to find a buyer that operates steel. There's only so many companies that do that globally. I'm going to be very candid. The instability we're seeing at the global level with trade war and other things is not helping. As soon as we can get to our global economy into a place where we are just stable and not doing tariffs, the better, and I think more likely we're going to find a buyer to buy the mill. But we're working very diligently to see if we can bind. There are some companies that have expressed interest, but hopefully details coming. But good news on the Durabond front. We're looking good and strong there. Some more work to do on the Cliff side, but we're confident we'll get something done soon. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Representative. Okay, we'll do closing comments. Thanks, everyone, for sticking with us as we went a little bit over. Representative Kerwin, we'll start with you for an opportunity for closing comments.
Thank you, Ryan. And again, I want to thank the Chamber and CREDC for having me here today. I think we discussed a lot of different topics and far-reaching topics, and it was a great discussion. And hopefully you were able to take something away from us as legislators, and I hope to interact with all of you and listen to the things that matter most to you when it comes time to voting in Harrisburg. But these forums are really great to really connect with the business community. Like I said, we don't get this opportunity often, particularly to get together in a bipartisan regional fashion. So it's really great. Really appreciate the work that all my colleagues up here do on both sides of the aisle. I think we do a really great job working together for the Capital Region, and I'm looking forward to speaking with you again. Thanks again.
Thanks. Representative Mahaffey.
Thank you again, Ryan. Bipartisanship is the only way we're going to get things done. You can tell we have a good working group here. I hope that finds a way into the General Assembly. We do not need another late budget. That is not going to help the business community, and we need to work harder to get it done on time. Remember, every time we come to the General Assembly and ask for money, it drives up our costs, right? If you want tax credits, it drives down our revenue, and our costs continue to go up. We as government are not exempt from what's going on in the business community. The prices of doing business have gone up, all levels, from the school board all the way up to federal government. It has to stop somewhere, though, and we understand that. But when we cut the CNIT, we lost revenue. When we lose revenue, it's harder to pass a budget. It takes time for that CNIT to kick in so the business community brings it back and doubles what we were getting in through businesses being here in Pennsylvania. We are seeing some businesses come back to Pennsylvania, some big businesses. What you saw in Allentown was pretty incredible. We're going to see more of that coming, And I think that's extremely important. I'll leave you with this, and a good friend told me this, and I probably said it before. And it's the one thing that probably kept me in politics so long. If you don't make politics your business, politics is going to be in your business. And that's something we don't want to do. We want to let the business community thrive. We want to continue to do things that are helpful, but we need the help to resolve the problems, as I said earlier. And I look forward to meeting and talking to everybody that wants to have that conversation. Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you, Representative. Representative Fleming.
Thank you, Ryan. While we were talking, I snuck a peek at the screen and I saw one of the highest priorities was political stability. And I think when you look at this panel, that's what you get. You get political stability. Now, do all of us agree on each and every issue? Obviously, absolutely not. You get 7 people in a room and they won't agree on everything, right? But what we do is we focus on the things that we can come together on. A lot of the bills and initiatives that, we heard that Representative Kerwin and Mahaffey are on a bill that I'm prime sponsoring. Representative Davidson, Kutz are, on bills together. And so that's the way we prefer to operate here in the Capital Region. And I think as Representative Mahaffey said, some of our colleagues could take a lesson in how to work with one another. Even, we even see some county delegations that are at each other's throats sometimes. But we know it's incumbent upon us to work together in order to serve you best. And so that's what we try to do, and really appreciate the chamber. Thanks to Josh, thanks to Ryan, thanks Kev for gathering us all, and really appreciate the opportunity to connect always.
Representative Mattson.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for having me this morning. It was a lot of fun. I just want to say, I just want to thank you all in the chamber. I mean, there's been 2 major issues for my district, or areas that border my district, and that's, the issue with downtown Harrisburg and trying to revitalize that, and then obviously the closure of Cleveland Cliffs. Ryan and his team have stepped up and helped every step of the way, providing insight and knowledge and expertise. So I just want to thank him and his leadership and the team for all that you've done. You've been a fantastic partner. And I want to say, it's just not a nice thing to say, we're actually getting results done. I gave a little summary of what's going on in Cliffs. Obviously some work to do with the downtown, but we are facilitating and having some very good conversations in that space. And that's what the business community can do. It can bring people together, give that perspective, and I've seen a tremendous benefit in my district for doing that. So I just want to thank you all for being such great partners and working together, and look forward to a whole new year of getting things done as a team. Thank you.
Thanks. Representative Davidson.
Yeah, thanks for the invitation and for welcoming us here this morning. I was just thinking back to last year, and I was just a little baby boy, freshly elected legislator, new kid on the block, right? And it's been so great to get to know so many of you here in this room throughout the past year. Some of you I knew before, and I think I've been fairly productive this year. I've had 9 bills out of committee, 5 bills out of the House, all with a bipartisan vote, and was the first member of the class of 2024 to have a bill signed by the governor. And I think all that is fueled by this working together in a bipartisan fashion. We do truly have a unique delegation here, though I encourage you to call the Senate Republicans and get them to pass a budget on time. My more opinions on the Senate later. But no, it's been it's just been a pleasure to really get to know and work with all of you. Our paths have crossed throughout the year in numerous ways. So I just want to thank you for your support of our delegation. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Delozier. No.
Okay, well, thank you very much for the opportunity to be here. Going after everybody, I can say, I agree with what has been said, so I won't repeat that, other than to say that our doors are open. Our doors are absolutely, we want to hear, because the one commonality that businesses have, you can be doing so many different things on your day-to-day business, but the common issues are still there. And those issues are the ones that we can try to work with you on, as we've talked about all morning. But I just want to say, we may have different opinions as to how we can solve a problem, but that compromise language and that coming together and figuring out where that sweet spot is. I've always said that if a piece of legislation goes out the door and both sides are a little bit frustrated with the result, that probably means it's a really good piece of legislation because both sides had to give a little. And I think that that's what you're going to have to see with the budget process. That's what you're going to have to see with any legislation that gets to the governor's desk. And I thank you for your input every time that we've asked for your thoughts and process as to how this will affect you on a day-to-day basis. And anytime you need something, you know where we are. So thank you for your morning.
Thank you, Representative. And Representative Kutz.
Thanks, Ryan. Going last, I guess I'll try and be brief. I'm headed up to the Capitol here to see 115 fourth graders 10 minutes ago, and it's one of the joys of my job. And I think we get to sit up here and we all have different thoughts on what the hot topic is of the day, but let's all remember what's important, and that's 115 of those kids and tens of thousands of more like them across Pennsylvania, and what kind of future they're going to inherit. It's an honor to serve. It's an honor to serve with each of these colleagues up here, and thank you for creating jobs and encouraging the next generation of Pennsylvanians to stay here, plant their roots here, and raise their families here. Thank you. Drive safe.
Thank you. You hear me start often when I talk that I have the good fortune to get up every morning and go to work. Gratitude's a fundamental value of who we are as an organization. And this dais up here is one reason why. This is not what you see throughout the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, across the country. I'm a part of some boards and groups, and oftentimes they're complaining about their local delegation. They can't get phone calls back. They won't listen. They won't work together. And we didn't write a script for these guys. This is really what they do in and day out. And we're successful as a region because of that. So let's give them a round of applause for everything they do. And I'd encourage you to go to an E-Town Messiah game next year. Yep, it's like the locust. You have so many marshmallows that fly out in the field, but it's a good one. On behalf of the Harrisburg Regional Chamber and CREDC, our boards of directors, our partners at the Perry County and West Shore Chambers of Commerce, thank you for joining us this morning. We'll hope you join us again in March for part 2 of the series, which will feature the senators of our regional delegation. Thanks for attending today's event. Be safe, stay healthy, and as always, make it a great day out there in the region. Thanks, everyone.